Good evening, I'm Alma Ang. You're watching Eagle News International on tonight's stories. Our top story, a jury has delivered its verdict in the defamation case against former President Donald Trump, filed by writer E. Jean Carroll. The court has awarded Carroll a significant sum in damages. Weather alert, a powerful cyclone, Kirili, has made landfall as a Category 3 storm, bringing strong winds and severe weather to the region. Legal debate, Alabama has become the first state to use nitrogen gas in an execution, sparking renewed discussions about the death penalty and ethical considerations surrounding untested methods. The case of Kenneth Smith, convicted of a 1989 murder, raises complex questions about justice and humanity. Heartwarming news, calling all cuteness enthusiasts. A new exhibition titled Cute is opening at Somerset House in London, celebrating the irresistible charm of all things adorable and cute. A jury has reached a verdict in the federal defamation trial against former President Donald Trump, brought by writer E. Jean Carroll. Trump has been ordered to pay a staggering $83.3 million in damages. And this comes months after Trump was already found liable for sexually assaulting and defaming Carroll, whom he publicly mocked while president after she accused him of assault. Today's verdict further underscores the jury's strong stance against Trump's actions. Adding another layer of drama to the case, Trump stormed out of the courtroom during closing arguments earlier today, visibly angered by Carroll's attorney, calling him a liar who believes the rules don't apply to him. In a swift reaction, Trump, on his social media platform Truth Social, called the verdict absolutely ridiculous and declared his intention to appeal both the defamation and assault findings. Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, echoed his sentiments, telling reporters outside the courthouse, take a listen.
We were stripped of every defense, every single defense before we walked in there. And I am proud to stand with President Trump because he showed up, he stood up, he took the stand, and he faced this judge. And you know what? I'll continue to do so with him. We will immediately appeal. We will set aside that ridiculous jury. And I just want to remind you all of one thing. I will continue with President Trump to fight for everybody's First Amendment right to speak. But we are in the state of New York. We are in a New York jury, and that is why we are seeing these witch hunts, these hoaxes, as he calls them. And this is another one of them.
And we have some breaking news again coming in from northeastern Australia. A powerful Category 3 cyclone known as severe tropical cyclone Kirili has hit the region, packing winds of more than 160 kilometers per hour. The cyclone landed in Townsville, which is home to 180,000 people, before rapidly weakening. Despite high winds, emergency services reported that the storm caused no fatalities and minimal damage. However, about 64,000 homes are said to be without power, and residents are advised to boil water to ensure it is safe to drink.
Good morning from the Ergon Depot here in Townsville, where we've just seen off up to 600 energy workers who are out there trying to get as many houses reconnected to the energy network just as quickly as we possibly can. They've already done a great job reconnecting about 18,000 households, but 48,000 households remain without power. Most of them are in the Townsville Council area, with the next largest amount in the Burdekin, and then just a couple of hundred in places like Hinchinbrook and the Whitsundays. We know that those power outages are also affecting telecommunications and our water resources. And so, for example, there's about 10,000 customers currently without NBN access, and there are mobile phone towers down in places like Blue Water and Magnetic Island.
It was only a few weeks ago when Tropical Cyclone Jasper hit Australia's far northeast, flooding major highways and uprooting trees. The UN's top court says the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza was at serious risk of deterioration further when ruling that Israel should do everything it can to prevent any acts of genocide in Gaza. The decision stopped short of calling for a ceasefire in the case brought by South Africa, which has accused Israel of breaching the UN Genocide Convention.
The court considers that the civilian population in the Gaza Strip remains extremely vulnerable. It recalls that the military operation conducted by Israel after 7 October 2023 has resulted inter alia in tens of thousands of deaths and injuries and the destruction of homes, schools, medical facilities, and other vital infrastructure, as well as displacement on a massive scale. The court notes that the operation is ongoing and that the Prime Minister of Israel announced on 18 January 2024 that the war, I quote, will take many more long months, end of quote. At present, many Palestinians in the Gaza Strip have no access to the most basic foodstuffs, potable water, electricity, essential medicines, or heating.
Israel dismissed the case as a grossly distorted story and said that if any genocidal acts had been carried out, they had been executed against Israel during the October 7 Hamas attacks.
Israel's commitment to international law is unwavering. Equally unwavering is our sacred commitment to continue to defend our country and defend our people. Like every country, Israel has an inherent right to defend itself. The vile attempt to deny Israel this fundamental right is blatant discrimination against the Jewish state, and it was justly rejected. The charge of genocide leveled against Israel is not only false, it's outrageous, and decent people everywhere should reject it. On the eve of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, I again pledge as Israel's Prime Minister, never again. Israel will continue to defend itself against Hamas, a genocidal terror organization. On October 7th, Hamas perpetrated the most horrific atrocities against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, and it vows to repeat these atrocities again and again and again. Our war is against Hamas terrorists, not against Palestinian civilians. We will continue to facilitate humanitarian assistance and to do our utmost to keep civilians out of harm's way, even as Hamas uses civilians as human shields. We will continue to do what is necessary to defend our country and defend our people.
The question now is whether the court's rulings will be obeyed. Although its rulings are legally binding, it has no mechanism to enforce them, and they are sometimes completely ignored. It has ordered Russia to stop its invasion of Ukraine, for example. In a related news, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees said it had sacked several employees accused by Israel of involvement in the Hamas's October 7 attack, prompting the U.S. to suspend critical funding. The head of the agency, Philippe Lazzarini, vowed to hold accountable, including through criminal prosecution, any UNRWA employee found to have taken part in acts of terror. In response to the firings, UN Chief Antonio Guterres pledged to conduct an urgent and comprehensive independent review of the UNRWA, according to his spokesman, Stéphane Dujarric.
Secretary General has been briefed by the Commissioner General of UNRWA, Philippe Lazzarini, regarding extremely serious allegations which implicate several UNRWA staff members in the terror attacks of October 7th in Israel. The Secretary General is horrified by this news and asked Mr. Lazzarini to investigate this matter swiftly and to ensure that any UNRWA employee shown to have participated or abetted in what transpired on October 7th or in any other criminal activity be terminated immediately and referred for potential criminal prosecution. An urgent and comprehensive independent review of UNRWA will be conducted, as it has been announced by Philippe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of UNRWA, back on 17 January. To protect the agency's ability to deliver humanitarian assistance, Commissioner General Lazzarini has taken the decision to immediately terminate the contracts of all these staff members and launch an investigation in order to establish the truth without delay. Any employee of UNRWA who is involved in acts of terror will be held accountable, including through criminal prosecution.
The U.S. State Department said it had temporarily paused additional funding to the agency while it reviewed the claims as well as the UN's plan to address concerns.
We have suspended we have suspended.
Before the suspension?
I don't have the dollar figures here,
Sure.
Peter. I'll take the question and get back to you, but we have suspended unallocated funds pending the outcome of the investigation.
Israel's ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan, said the sackings proved long-standing claims that UNRWA employees are collaborators of the terrorist organization Hamas.
כמה זה סמלי שדווקא ביום השואה הבינלאומי הוכח מה שאנחנו טוענים כבר שנים, שעובדי אונר"א הם משתפי פעולה של ארגון הטרור חמאס, ושהאו"ם הפך להיות לא רק מקום שבו עושים דה-לגיטימציה לקיומה של מדינת ישראל, אלא שהעובדים שלו פיזית משתתפים בחיסולה של ישראל וברצח אזרחיה.
And we have some concerning news to bring you. The symbolic Doomsday Clock has been reset to 90 seconds to midnight, reflecting the existential threats to humanity.
Today, we once again set the Doomsday Clock to express a continuing and unprecedented level of risk. It is 90 seconds to midnight. Last year, we expressed amplified concern by moving the clock to 90 seconds to midnight, the closest to global catastrophe it has ever been. The risks of last year continue with unabated ferocity and continue to shape this year. Trends continue to point ominously towards global catastrophe. The war in Ukraine poses an ever-present risk of nuclear escalation, and the October 7 attack in Israel and war in Gaza provides further illustration of the horrors of modern war even without nuclear escalation. Biological research aimed at preventing future pandemics has proven useful, but also presents the risk of causing one. And recent advances in artificial intelligence raise a variety of questions about how to control a technology that could improve or threaten civilization in countless ways.
Alabama has become the first state in the world to use nitrogen gas to execute a convicted murderer, sparking renewed debate about the death penalty and the ethics of untested execution methods. Kenneth Smith, 58, was put to death on Thursday night for the 1989 murder of a preacher's wife, Elizabeth Sennett. The case is particularly complex, with details surrounding the crime and its execution raising concerns and raising questions about justice and humanity. The use of nitrogen gas, an untested method, sparked concerns about its effectiveness and potential for causing prolonged suffering.
By order of the Alabama Supreme Court at 7:53 Central Time tonight, the state of Alabama started carrying out the execution of Kenneth Eugene Smith by nitrogen hypoxia at the William C. Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore. Smith was executed for the 1988 capital murder of Elizabeth Dorleen Sennett in Colbert County. Please confer with the media witnesses for Smith's last words. Smith was pronounced deceased by physicians at 8:25 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Alabama authorities maintain the execution was carried out as expected, despite reports of Smith struggling against restraints and experiencing involuntary movements.
Of course, Kim, appeared that Smith was holding his breath as long as he could, and then there's also information out there. He struggled against his restraints a little bit, but there's some involuntary movement and some agonal breathing. So that was all expected and is in the side effects that we've seen or researched on nitrogen hypoxia. So nothing was out of the ordinary what we were expecting.
You think it was involuntary?
Yes.
The victim's son, Mike Sennett, expressed a sense of closure while acknowledging the tragedy of the situation.
Nothing happened here today is going to bring Mom back. Nothing. It's kind of a bittersweet day. We're not going to be jumping around, hooping and hollering, hooray and all that. That's not us. But we're glad this day is over. Evil deeds has consequences. And Kenneth Smith made some bad decisions 35 years ago, and his debt was paid tonight.
In contrast, Smith's wife, Deanna, criticized the execution and questioned the media's portrayal of the event.
Our son was crying after having just watched his father take his last gasp for air. The media is sitting behind us, shuffling papers and talking about time. My question to you guys is, where's the humanity? Where's the compassion? Where's love and forgiveness?
The curtain opened at 7:53 p.m. to the viewing room. Curtain closed at 8:15 p.m. Kenneth Smith made a lengthy final statement. It began with, Tonight, Alabama caused humanity to take a step backward. He continued saying, I'm leaving with love, peace, and light. Thank you for supporting me. Love all of you. He appeared conscious for several minutes into the execution. For about 2 minutes following that, Kenneth Smith shook and writhed for about 2 minutes on a gurney. That was followed by several minutes of deep breaths on the gurney. Following that, his breath slowed until it was no longer perceptible for media witnesses. The governor's office pronounced the time of death at 8:25. And again, the curtains closed to that room at 8:15 p.m.
The case ignited a critical debate about the death penalty and the ethics of untested methods. Human rights groups and civil liberties organizations expressed concerns about the potential for agonizing deaths, while Alabama authorities defended the use of nitrogen gas as a more humane alternative to lethal injection.
Is that Alabama is using an untested, unproven method of execution. It's never been used before to execute anyone in the United States or anyone in the world as far as we know. There are lots of risks and lots of concerns about this method. Well, Mr. Smith's lawyers argue that there are a few certain things. One is that the face mask that will fit over his mouth and nose could become dislodged. It could become dislodged when he's praying or when he's making his final statement, or sadly if he panics. And we know that Mr. Smith has been suffering a lot of panic attacks leading up to this second execution attempt. If that happens, the flow of gas and the amount of gas will change, and that might lengthen his execution and increase his suffering. The other concerns have to do with people in the room. What happens when the religious advisor is in the room and there is a flow of nitrogen gas that escapes from the mask? Will he be harmed? And finally, Mr. Smith has been suffering a lot of nausea and vomiting almost daily out of fear about this upcoming execution. If that occurs and he vomits in his mask, the department has said it will not interrupt that execution, and there's a concern that he will choke or aspirate, and that will lead to a very painful and terrible death. Well, that's a better question for the state of Alabama. They say that this is a humane execution method. One reason might be because they've had so much trouble with the lethal injection method that most states use. They botched 3 executions in a row in 2022, including Mr. Smith's execution. So they may feel more comfortable pivoting to a completely different method of execution, even though it is completely untested and untried. I would be very surprised if other states were willing to take the kind of risks that the state of Alabama is taking with this execution. No one knows what's going to happen, including Alabama officials themselves. So I can't see why other states would want to follow that kind of reckless practice.
The White House joined the call for a moratorium on the federal death penalty, pending review of its procedures.
The reports of Kenneth Smith and his death last night obviously is troubling. It is very troubling to us as an administration. It is very troubling to us here at the White House. It underscores why the president support the Attorney General's moratorium on federal death penalty, pending review of the policies and procedures governing its use. The president has long said and has had deep concerns with how the death penalty is implemented and whether it is consistent with our values. So we are deeply troubled by it.
Smith was convicted in 1989 of murdering a preacher's wife, Elizabeth Sennett, in a $1,000 hit. Smith's fellow hitman, John Forrest Parker, was executed in 2010. Elizabeth Sennet's death-ridden preacher husband, Charles Sennett, orchestrated the killing to collect insurance money. He later took his own life as investigators closed in. At his trial, Smith admitted to being present when the crime occurred but denied taking part in the attack. Despite the jury recommending a life sentence, the judge overrode their decision and imposed the death penalty. In a sharp escalation of tensions, Russia accuses Ukraine of a deadly attack on a military transport plane carrying prisoners of war. Now, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov made the claim today, casting further doubt on diplomatic efforts to end the conflict.
On the morning of the January 24th, Moscow time, a terrorist attack was conducted. As a result, in the Belgorod region, a Russian transport aircraft Il-76 was downed. It was supposed to transport from the Moscow region to Belgorod of 65 military servicemen of the armed forces of Ukraine. They were accompanied by 3 Russian officers and the crew of 6 people. All of them died. The Ukrainian prisoners of war were transported to the Belgorod region in order to conduct yet another swap that was agreed between Moscow and about the reasons behind the Ukrainian criminal act. We're trying to find out the facts right now. The first reports that we've seen with that right away after the aircraft was downed, after the shelling from the anti-aircraft missiles, the Ukrainian side mentioned yet again their victory of the victorious Ukrainian armed forces. But when they found out when it became known that it was a POW swap plane and the Ukrainian officials from the military ministry could not know about this swap, right away, the Ukrainian propaganda started to sweep it under the carpet, such overly emphatic notions of their victory. And they're trying to find other explanations. Yet again, we're just getting the information. It's been rechecked.
Lavrov also dismissed U.S. warnings about potential Russian aggression beyond Ukraine, calling them fairy tales aimed at securing more financial aid for Kiev.
Я надеюсь, что это не так, что...
We hope that that will not be the case. We hope that there are some smart people left in the room, people who are well-versed not just in history, but who have the instinct to protect themselves. I also heard Biden saying something similar, warning that if Ukraine loses the war, then Russia will march on the Baltic states, on Finland, and on other NATO members. Such statements were also made by lower-level leaders, not just by US leaders. You see, I'm inclined to believe in reason, in the reasonableness of the US leadership. So I see this as an attempt to achieve short-term objectives, that is, allocating funds to Ukraine, dispersing funds to Ukraine. They think that they can instill fear in the Congress with these fairy tales, with these concoctions. They hope that this will prompt Congress to compromise and give 60-odd billion to Ukraine as part of an aid package, with some money going to Israel, some money as well to set up equipment around the border.
A tense situation unfolded in the Gulf of Aden on Friday as a U.S. Navy warship successfully intercepted a missile fired by Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels. This incident marks the latest escalation in a 2-month campaign by the Houthis targeting international shipping in the crucial Red Sea trade route. Here's what we need to know. A Houthi anti-ship ballistic missile was launched from Yemen towards the Arleigh Burke class destroyer USS Carney. The USS Carney swiftly shut down the incoming missile with no reported injuries or damage. And this comes amid ongoing joint U.S. and British efforts to curb Houthi attacks on maritime traffic. The Houthis, claiming to support Palestinians in Gaza, began targeting Red Sea shipping in November. And they have since declared U.S. and British interests as legitimate targets, further heightening regional tensions. The U.S. leads a coalition to protect Red Sea shipping and has recently redesignated the Houthis as a terrorist organization.
Will these airstrikes or attacks actually hinder the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea? I doubt it, actually. I think the Houthi capabilities are more than we think, and striking them at this moment is actually backfiring in many ways, at least not for the optics and the timing of it, as this will seem yet just another US-UK blind support of Israel. The United Kingdom and the United States are in a situation for a lot of domestic but also international reasons, in which it is a situation of damn you if you do, damn you if you don't. If you let the Houthis get away with these strikes, then that sends a bad message. And it also inspires a lot of militias in the Horn of Africa, but also across the world. At the same time, if you go into fighting with the Houthis, you risk a huge regional escalation. They have chosen one of both horrible choices. And that one seems to be striking from far and praying that this actually will make a difference in Yemen. To continue to protect or to save Hezbollah, its #1 ally in the regional battle. So with that in mind, it definitely would prefer to see the Houthis escalating rather than Hezbollah. And it see that it's able to do that at a low cost, but also that erupts everyone internationally. And the Houthis are willing to go further than Iran. They are a combination of Taliban, North Korea, and Iran, in the sense of how maximalist they are going to. And remember one thing, they have no international recognition. So that also makes them feel that they can act in a more thug way, and also can make Iran think that when the Houthis act, it actually increases its leverage rather than it is being held responsible for them. In fact, the Houthis are disappointed at Iran and Hezbollah, and they think that they are not serious enough about protecting Palestine. And they find this a huge opportunity ideologically. You can see them right now that this has paid off for them. They are an item at the UN Security Council. They are a conversation in TikToks across the world and in Mexico and in Korea and in the West. And they have had the best possible 15 hours of attention, not even 15 seconds of fame. And that's the most basic thing that's currently lacking, is the United States and the United Kingdom should have acted through the UN General Assembly instead of acting unilaterally or on their own. There is, more than you think, actually more of a harm to the Chinese, to the Russians, to everyone in the world. So acting via the UN General Assembly and having more international support, especially from the global south, would make at least alternative policy choices more rational, if not the only choices.
Now, if you're a fan of all things cute, there is an exciting new exhibition opening in central London, and that's sure to delight you. Titled Cute, the exhibition at Somerset House explores the irresistible appeal of all things adorable, from plush toys to emojis and everything in between. Ryan Florentino reports.
Even before the doors to Cute opened at Somerset House, social media influencers in various cosplay outfits playfully posed for photos to charm their social media followers. The exhibition blends art with an array of musical clips, video games, and memes from social media, exploring a largely virtual culture that has swept across the globe with the explosion of the internet. One room of the exhibition Cute is a tribute to cats, which make up some of the most viewed content on the internet, contrasting 19th century black and white feline photographs with futuristic AI-generated rainbow kitten portraits. Further on, a collage of curly-haired Renaissance cherubs, the original Cute babies of art history, intermingles with plush toys, mangas or Japanese comics, and iconic figures from the kawaii or cute culture that emerged in 20th century Japan. For Claire Catterall, the exhibition's curator, the concept of cute is so vast that she struggles to define it.
Well, the exhibition unpacks what cuteness is, so it's a very slippery thing. It's very hard to define. It's very tricky, and in many ways, that's the power of it. It's so many different things all at once.
In sections divided by cat-shaped or rainbow arches, contemporary works share space with commercial products such as Tamagotchi toys or Sylvian family figures, reminding visitors that cuteness is a lucrative billion-dollar business. Visitors can enjoy vintage Japanese video games in an arcade room or relax at a pajama party in a vast teen bedroom complete with beanbags and pop music created by British artist Hannah Diamond. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, I am Ryan Florentino. Stay alert, for we live in extraordinary times.
Now, if you're a fan of epic fantasy adventure literature, then you're in for a treat. The Hobbit Cafe in Houston, Texas is a themed restaurant that pays homage to the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, whether you're a die-hard fan of the Lord of the Rings series or simply enjoy a good adventure story. The Hobbit Cafe is the perfect place to indulge your literary cravings. Join Bureau Chief Jane Kathleen Gregorio as she takes us on a tour of this iconic restaurant and explores what makes it a must-visit destination for fans of Tolkien's beloved stories.
If you're looking for an otherworldly dining experience, you don't have to travel far to taste the flavors of Middle-earth. For more than 50 years, the Hobbit Cafe in Houston, Texas has brought together fans of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series. But even if you're not a fan, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Not only delicious food, but also fellowship.
We were established in 1972. We used to be on Shepherd, and we moved to this location on Richmond in the year 2000, and we've been here ever since. But yeah, it's been around for a while. We started as one of the first vegetarian restaurants in Houston. Like, you're in Middle-earth, you're here at the Shire, the Hobbiton, so yeah, it's a good time for sure. It's very immersive.
This hidden gem, located on Richmond Avenue near downtown Houston, is chock full of Tolkien, film, and story memorabilia. The Hobbit Cafe also features live music, a pet-friendly open patio dining with tabletop fire pits, trivia and costume nights, and souvenirs for sale. And offers menu items named after Lord of the Rings characters and caters to all diets. Vegetarian options include the Gandalf avocado mushroom and melted jack sandwich, the Lonely Mountain black bean nachos, the Fellowship platter, and more. Carnivores can chow down on dragon wings, Gollum's fish tacos, Smaug's smoked turkey sandwich, and hearty burgers like Aragorn's Angus avocado and the double patty Balrog burger. What's like your most outrageous menu item?
Probably our Morgoth burger. It's a quad patty burger. It's about this big.
Morgoth burger, which is a ginormous burger, and it's actually a challenge because if you can eat the whole thing, then you can win a t-shirt that is only available if you finish the burger. It's really cool. The other items on our menu that are really special, like the Dwalin. It's like a curry chicken salad with some grapes and stuff in it. It's really, really good. My favorite's actually the King Theoden. It's got like hummus on it. It's like Mediterranean theme.
Gregory Orr, a Houston native, is also a Tolkien fan, but had never been to the Hobbit Cafe prior.
My family moved to Texas in '74, so I'd always heard about it. It's just never made it over here. But yeah, it's been something that people have talked about and come to for a long time. In the late '70s, there was a real big push for Lord of the Rings for some reason during that time period. I read the books. I was a big kind of a science fiction and I say fantasy geek because fantasy wasn't really a big thing at the time. It was all science fiction. But this kind of came out and we all read it and was very excited about it.
We both decided to try the King Theoden burger, topped with hummus and olives. The burger itself was juicy and had a flavorful Mediterranean taste to it.
This is a King Theoden's burger, and it's got mushrooms and peppers, olives. I think even hummus is in here, so some cheese. It's really good.
Gregory went for the seasoned Uruk fries, smothered in hatch chili queso.
Oh yeah, good.
I decided to order the onion rings, which had a crispy seasoned batter that I found to be precious.
Sausage, I guess.
So this is the one onion ring. To bite them all.
Yeah, I don't know why I never came here before. I've lived here since this place was open almost, and I forgot it existed.
With so many different menu items to choose from, this epic meal will definitely need a sequel.
Oh, it's delicious. I'll come back again and try some more items.
In Houston, Texas, I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
As always, I'll end the day on a thoughtful note. Our ability to look back and smile at our past is proof that God's plan is to keep us moving forward. This has been Eagle News International. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay alert, stay informed, because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.